Tuesday, January 8th, and the regular Board of Commissioners meeting is 6 o'clock. We are calling it to order. Will the Commissioner please lead us in the pledge?
Okay. Please stand. Our Father in heaven, we ask your attendance at the deliberation of the Board of Commissioners this evening as it seeks to do thy will in consideration of the issues before them. Bless the members of this assembly, the citizens that are present at this meeting, and all the residents of Madeira Beach. We pray that our work this evening will find favor in your sight. Amen. Please remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Will the City Clerk please call the roll?
Commissioner Douther?
Present.
Commissioner Hodges?
Here.
Vice Mayor Weinstein?
Here.
Mayor Black?
Present. Do I have a motion to approve the agenda?
Madam Mayor, if I may, before the board approves the agenda as provided, I would like for the board to consider removing item D off of consent and reordering that item to be discussed under new business, as well as pulling item C, the 2COP alcohol beverage application 2008-02, the sandbar, and postponing that particular item to another meeting of the Board of Commissioners.
So you want to put the inventory, you want that as the first item under new business?
Yes, Madam Mayor, if it would be the board's pleasure.
Do we have a consent?
That's
to
fine.
that?
Yes, that's
Okay.
fine. I also would like to pull under unfinished business, Resolution 2019-2, which is 7B. Remove that from the agenda.
Do we have a consensus for that?
I definitely would like to see that on the agenda. I do not.
Well, a resolution under this situation here is against the city charter. It should be done as an ordinance, not a resolution. So I feel like this needs to be redone as an ordinance.
City Attorney, can you give us an opinion on that?
I can if we bring the item up for agenda discussion. I don't know if it's appropriate now. The resolution states that the Civil Service Commission will meet the number of times that's required under the Code of Ordinances, which is quarterly. To go any less than quarterly, you would have to do an ordinance. And this resolution requires them meet at least quarterly, plus with any emergency situations or grievance hearings. So it may be more appropriate to discuss it somewhere on the agenda. Where is it on the agenda right now?
It's unfinished business, item B.
So I think unfinished business, we hear there's public discussion and public comment and board discussion. It's not on the consent agenda. What was the motion to take it off completely?
To pull it from the agenda, yes.
Well, it's a pleasure of the board. If there's a second that can be pulled, otherwise it can be left on the agenda and discussed when it comes up at 7B.
Nancy, you said it violates the charter. Explain, please.
Yes, I have under, let me see, in the city charter, I don't have a page number, but it's under duties and powers of the Civil Service Commission. It says all duties, powers, reservations on power, and funding for the Civil Service Commission may be provided for by ordinance duly passed by the Board of Commissioners of the City of Madeira Beach, Florida.
So how does this violate the?
It's a resolution. We need an ordinance.
Okay.
But City Attorney, didn't you?
This resolution just merely repeats what the ordinances require. The ordinance required at least quarterly meetings. this resolution says they shall meet quarterly. If it comes up in discussion, I guess there's been multiple meetings per month. And the concern that Commissioner Weinstein had was that too much time and money and effort was being spent beyond the call of duty. Now that the personnel manual is complete, the charter was reviewed, and the grievance hearing had been concluded, that they were back to their regular meeting schedule, which is once per quarter under the Code of Ordinances, so it's simply repeating what's in the code.
Well, also, I did make the comment, City Attorney, that the amount of time that has been spent by staff, the amount of time that's been spent certainly by the volunteers of the Civil Service Commission, okay? And certainly, I feel it's a waste of taxpayer money to have so many things being talked about and nothing has really been worked on by any professionals with regards to the Civil Service Commission and the duties and responsibilities. And I'm thinking that that's what it needs. Now, whether it's a resolution, certainly, and unfortunately, in past years, for the past 7, maybe years, all of the commissions have, or certainly Civil Service Commission has acted with using resolution upon resolution. That's unfortunate. But all I'm saying now is it needs to be discussed, according to my feelings.
So I'm still unclear. We can have a resolution because it's not against the charter.
You can go ahead and place it on the agenda for discussion and bring it up at that time. In my opinion, it doesn't violate the charter.
Okay. And would it be better for B to come before A?
If we're going to use the time to discuss it, then I think then we move it to the 29th and to the workshop.
That might be a good idea.
And at that time, Mr. Evans, can we get it put into a ordinance by that time?
Yeah, we can make that an ordinance if you'd like. We can also alter the amount of times that they meet. If you are going to do an ordinance, you can change it from quarterly to once a year or twice a year or once a month or once a week, whatever you would like.
But we can do that at the workshop, correct?
To discuss it at the workshop, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, because you can't present the ordinance at the workshop except for this to discuss it, correct? And
The
make any
workshop, you can do
changes.
discussion, but you won't be actually voting to adopt
Correct.
an ordinance.
Right.
Okay.
But you can
Okay.
give some discussion and direction
Okay.
to staff.
Okay, so if we can add that to the agenda for January 29th, I'm agreeable as well.
I'm agreeable. All right, so we're taking item B off the agenda then. Any more discussion on the agenda? Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion that we approve the agenda with the changes we discussed.
And I'll second.
All in favor? City Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Commissioner Douther,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Weinstein,
Yes.
Commissioner Hodges,
Yes?
Mayor Black.
Yes. We have no proclamations tonight, but we do have a presentation. It's for the promotion of Jamie McGow to driver engineer. Chief O'Neill?
Good afternoon, Mayor. It's always a privilege and an honor to be here with you, especially on an occasion like tonight. Tonight we're here to recognize Jamie McGoy, who was originally hired back in 2014 as a firefighter paramedic. Since that time, he has worked diligently, received numerous awards and accolades. During that time, he's received several certifications, including his advanced open water certification and all the requirements to sit for his state of Florida pump operator certification. As you know, a couple of years ago, Jamie was also recognized as our firefighter of the year. So with that experience behind him, he should have no problem making a lengthy speech tonight.
Thrown under the bus.
So without further ado, I would like to ask driver engineer Jamie McGoy to come forward. this time, I would like to ask his wife Agatha and his son and his daughter to come forward to pin him with his new driver engineer badge. Agatha.
Oh, that's sweet.
About that speech.
Hello. I always love these speeches, and it seems like a little never pleasant. But thank you to Chief. Thanks for all the guys in the department. Feel honored. Lieutenants, all the other guys, the other drivers, all the line guys, everybody. You know, this is like just a big family, and appreciate all the training and everybody putting all the hours in, helping to train us do this stuff. And thanks again.
Congratulations. Next, we have the Veterans Boat Parade check presentation. But before I turn this over to the city manager, I just want to say thank you so much to all the people who made that happen, the organizers, the people behind the scenes, the boat owners. It was truly a premier event. And I would like to recommend that at a future meeting that the Board of Commissioners approves a resolution for a 5-year commitment to the Veterans Boat Parade, along with a $5,000 contribution. City Manager?
Thank you, Madam Mayor, members of the board, and members of the public. It's certainly a great honor to be here in front of you this evening to recognize America's most valuable and precious resource. It's its veterans. We're able to do the things that we do day in and day out because of the sacrifices that you have made as veterans. Those of you that are not here, those of you that have lost family members, friends, and the sacrifices your loved ones have made when you have served this country both on foreign soils as well as here domestically. So as an organization, it's only fitting that we have the first meeting of the year to recognize this group of outstanding individuals, and we could not be prouder of the opportunity to partner with the Veterans Day Boat Parade, and I commend the leadership from the Board of Commissioners for agreeing to cement its relationship with the Veterans Day Boat Parade for 5 years and committing $5,000 every year to ensure that it always will happen here in Madeira Beach. So thank you so much for the partnership, working with Pam and Roger, exceptional group of individuals. And at this time, I'm going to turn it over to Kurt Pricer, our Public Information Officer, who will be the Master of Ceremonies for this particular presentation.
Thank you, Mr. Evans, Madam Mayor, Commissioners. Welcome, everyone. We're going to do a brief presentation, probably about 10 or 15 minutes here with regards to the Veterans Boat Parade. This was my first boat parade. I've only been in Madeira Beach for the last 6 months, and I covered the parade. There's a quick video summary that we're going to show. I will say before I start the video, I was thoroughly impressed. This is the best boat parade I've ever seen in my life. This thing was really incredible. I hope you enjoy it. It really was a truly incredible day, a lot of moving experiences. I talked to a lot of people as I was walking around taking pictures and shooting video. Some folks who've been in Madeira Beach for generations, others who traveled a long way just to come watch the boat parade. It was very impressive. At this point in time, I would like to turn it over to the people who are responsible for that impressive feat. Please welcome the co-chairs of the Veterans Boat Parade, Roger Gerstung and Pam Rasmussen. And if I could have the commissioners gather over here, please, so we don't have to have everybody having their backs to you while we do the presentations. If we could just gather over here and get everybody into a photo, please.
Thank you, Kurt.
I was remiss in announcing one thing. We're doing Facebook Live with this as well. My partner, Lacey Lefebvre, over here, we've gotten a lot of publicity out of Facebook Live, so we're not wasting this opportunity. That would be Roger, who's been our most watched Facebook Live participant so far.
He had a co-star in there.
Well, first, thank you all for being here tonight. And Madam Mayor, thank you very much for that suggestion on a resolution. Tears. Thank you.
This is a great honor. Pam and I work all year long, it seems like, right?
Yeah, we do.
Putting this together, and to have everybody here to recognize and see what the final end result of our work and all the volunteers and contributors and sponsors and everybody else that helps us out, and plus the actual boat participants. Now we get to hand out the money to the local veteran charities, and that's what this is all about.
This is the fun part. And it's much more than just a party on the water for that weekend. Like Roger said, we work all year long for this. And one of the things that we thought this year, when we always try to figure out what we want to do for our charities and who do we want to give to, our mission is to keep that money right here in Pinellas County and take care of our own. Not that we're against any of the national organizations, but we want to keep it right here. And so it's important that we have the American Legion Post 273 as one of our sponsors, the VFW from Johns Pass, 4256, and we also have the Elks Lodge, who is a big supporter of us, 1912 and Holiday Isles right here. So thank you to those three large individuals that help us. But when we were thinking what we wanted to do, it was a 100-year anniversary of World War I. So we wanted to do something special for our World War II veterans. So we thought we would work with some of the folks at Honor Flight and try to research and find our World War II veterans right here in Madeira Beach. With the help of the adjunct at Post 273, we were able to find 8. Now, if you're here tonight and you have a World War II veteran in your family that lives in Madeira Beach, or is your neighbor, if you're watching us at home and we didn't contact you, please contact the city, reach out to us. They know how to find us, and we would like to help you get on an honor flight. If I could have Gary Gilchrist and Mark Welsh come up with their honored guest, O'Neill Ducharme. These gentlemen are with Honor Flight.
And the next honor flight is in April?
May.
It's May.
May 7th.
Okay.
So we're going to do our best to get those World War II veterans from here in Madeira Beach on that next honor flight. And if there's anyone that wants to help us as guardians join us, please do. And if I could have Officer Susan Kohler from the Legion, and who's giving our city check? Who's presenting? And so we have checks with the city helping us, and Jonathan as well helping find all these folks. The city of Madeira Beach would like to present a check for $800 to Honor Flight to help offset the cost that it's going to take to send those World War II veterans to Washington, D.C. Officer Susan Kohler is also here. Thank you so much. Officer Susan Kohler is also here from the American Legion Post 273, the best Legion in my experience right here, across the water from City Hall. And they heard what we were doing. They loved it. She also has a check for $800 to present to Honor Flight. So then Roger and I thought, well, what can we do? We got to one-up them, right? So we'd like to present this check to Mark and Gary and O'Neill also for $2,000 to help with honor flight.
May we say thank you?
O'Neill is one of their most spectacular representatives. He's been on Bay News 9, Channel 13, 8, all of them, right? And he is. So would you like to say something? Absolutely.
Is this on? We are overwhelmed and grateful for the outpouring of this community. The wonderful thing about working with Pam and the boat parade for the last several years, we've had some moments of last-minute decisions, but we've gotten through it. And what you do for the veterans and acknowledging them is remarkable. Honor Flight West Central Florida is part of a national organization. However, we act totally independently here in Pinellas, Hillsborough, Polk, Sarasota, and up in Pasco and Citrus even, counties, to take veterans to Washington free of charge for a one-day trip, to acknowledge their service and sacrifice, to show them the memorials built in their honor, and to give them the welcome home that none of them really received. World War II came home to ambivalence. Korean War came home to the same type. It was business as usual. Vietnam veterans, raise your hands, please. I know we've got quite a few in this room. Our Vietnam veterans came home to ridicule. And if we serve no other purpose in the day, I tell the veterans that I hope we've expressed to you that America does care for what you did, what you sacrificed for our country when we needed you most. We didn't always express it properly, but we're expressing it now. Welcome home. This allows us, to all the organizations, we can't thank you enough. This allows us to take about 5 additional veterans to Washington, D.C., over and above the Guardian contribution. Please, if you know veterans that are any war class, we take them based on first-year service, have them fill out an application. I'm sure you'll be publishing the email address. If you are interested in being a guardian, each veteran gets a guardian. And believe me, it's one of the most meaningful, moving days of your life to be with one of these heroes for a day. And we know all of us need volunteers as well. But thank you so much for this gracious, gracious initiative.
I don't want to put O'Neill on the spot, but could you give us a little bit of his background and let him know, let the folks know his military service and career?
I'm a man of very few words anyway, and I started out in 1942, right after Pearl Harbor, and I continued on until 1985. I gave them 39 years of my life.
The quick math
the
is
best
34 and
years
a
of
half.
my life, and willingly and very happy to do so. And as working with Honor Flight has been the most grateful thing I ever did. It took me from the bottom to the top of the cloud. And that's all I can say. Thank you so very much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, gentlemen, and we look forward to working with you more in the future. And then, Jonathan, I don't know if you want to speak now or if anybody wants to speak about what we'd like to do with them and our World War II veterans in the future.
So one of the things that we want to do as an organization is certainly recognize our World War II veterans. So what we will be doing is we are in the process of designing a special sign that will be placed in the yards of our veterans, thanking them for their service. But we will be delivering that sign in typical fashion with our fire department and coordinating with the family to recognize them and to really give them the hero's welcome that some of them did not receive as they came home. So that is something that we are going to be working with Pam and Roger and the mayor and the Board of Commissioners to really give that piece of Madeira Beach back to them, because they have sacrificed so much for this community. So you will start seeing these signs throughout our community for those that have served our community, especially our World War II veterans. So we're certainly excited about the opportunity to recognize the greatest generation this country has ever seen.
Thank you. So the next check we'd like to give out is to our disabled American veterans. And this check will be used solely for a Chapter 11 right here in Clearwater, which is one of the neediest chapters in the Pinellas County area. Unfortunately, the state commander couldn't be here tonight because it is time for their state convention. Mr. Dothert, Commissioner Dothert, I know you're involved with the DAV, and we'd like to present this to you on behalf of the DAV and the Veterans Boat Parade in the city of Madeira Beach. Commissioner Dothert was honored as well. So Nate Witt, if you wouldn't mind coming. Next, we're going to give a check to VA Bay Pines, Veterans Administration, and this is going to go specifically to social services. Nate, I'm sorry, I forgot who you have with you tonight. I apologize. Michelle Laycox.
Section Chief within Social Work Service of the homeless programs.
So we'd like to give $3,000 to Bay Pines VA Administration. That we'll use specifically for social services. You guys can talk a little bit about what that will be done, but thank you for all you do for our veterans.
At the Bay Pines VA, we have several different programs that serve homeless veterans. We have transitional housing, we have emergency shelter beds, and we have HUD-VASH vouchers, which is the equivalent of Section 8 housing with a case management component for veterans. Every year during the last week of January, there's something that's called a pit count, where they go out, every community is required to go out and do a count of their homeless. In 2018, Pinellas County had a count of 281 homeless veterans, and every single one of those veterans deserve housing, so that's what we work for in our program. The pit count is coming up this year on January 24th. I encourage you to go talk to the Homeless Leadership Board in Pinellas County if you're interested in volunteering for that pit count.
Thanks, Michelle. And in regards to donations that come to Bay Pines VA healthcare system, one thing that we always make sure that we say is every penny goes to the veterans that we are privileged to serve. Within our healthcare system, we have about 111,000 veterans, and this sort of donation to our social work fund assists with things like emergent transport to and from clinical appointments, assisting with meals whenever a veteran needs assistance in that way, or something as simple as defraying a utility bill. And it really is always a hand up rather than a handout, and we appreciate the community, Veterans Boat Parade, and all the many organizations that support you in providing this donation. Thank you so much.
So our last and final participant, I'll go ahead and let her come on up and we can get the oohs and ahs over. It's Jen Andrews with Canine Heroes for Heroes. She has with her tonight Private First Class Cooper, who we're keeping outside, and Private First Class Eliza, who is here tonight. They are service dogs in training, so I'm sorry we cannot pet them, play with them. They've already graduated beyond that.
Cooper hasn't learned that one yet.
Well, he's a boy, Eliza's a girl. So when Roger and I were trying to think of charities before the whole year started and everything, we thought, let's try and find a service dog organization or somehow we can help with a service dog. Didn't know how to do that. Went to my go-to guy, Mark Welsh, with Honor Flight. He's helped me in so many different ways other than with Honor Flight. He's like, I know this gal, Jen Andrews. She's the president and founder of Canine Heroes for Our Heroes. They rescue dogs, train them, and work them to become service dogs, correct? All right. So, full story circle here, CJ Sepix, who is a rec center worker here, just happened to find a litter of puppies in front of PetSmart that was from a homeless family. They were trying to sell those puppies for $20 a piece. CJ and her friend took those dogs in, fostered them. In walks Carrie Burrick. Carrie, can you come on up with your board director, Rick? These folks are with Suncoast Animal League. They were very instrumental in helping with Clover, our firehouse dog. CJ spoke with them. They helped facilitate the adoption of all 7 puppies. When I found out about all this, I contacted Jen and I said, what do you think about a puppy? She contacted her trainer. The trainer drove all the way down here, met with the puppies and said, we want 2. We went, we weren't expecting 2, but okay, we can handle it. We'll try. Then walks in the American Legion. Susan, would you mind coming up? They were like, how did you do this? We've been trying to find a service dog or an animal that we could help with a veteran for years. I said it fell in our lap. We just happened to have it that lucky. So what we'd like to do for Suncoast Animal League, once they found out what we were doing with the puppies, they waived all the fees, anything that a person would have had to pay for getting a puppy, all the adoption fees, they waived all of that. So we'd like to present you with a check for $200 to help with offsetting that cost. So thank you guys very much.
Thank you. It's obviously an honor to be here tonight and to see when you put forth an effort and you have a community that accepts that effort the way that you guys have in Madeira Beach. It's an amazing thing. And to see what Clover has started here at the fire department and what we've done for these dogs and what they're going to continue to do in the future. It's amazing. And I want to compliment the fire department and the city of Madeira Beach to take that chance to be brave and thinking outside the box, to take that chance in the first place, because it is now leading into more and more fire departments contacting us about having a fire dog. Of course, there'll never be another Clover, but thank you guys very much.
Thank you. So then Roger and I are like, okay, well, we know the Legion's going to give us some money, but we don't know if we can come up with as much to match them. So then comes in the Elks Lodge 1912 here at Holiday Isles, Madeira Beach. Mike Giovanni, their exalted ruler. Mike, if you would come on up. So they heard that we wanted to try to match the funds that the Legion were going to give. We didn't think we could pull that off. So they...
Why we need so much money?
So to train one service dog, it can cost anywhere from... $8,000 to $10,000. Per dog. Per dog. Right. And that depends on what their training is, because one unique thing that they do is they get the dogs, they partner them with a veteran, and they train them in the veteran's home for that veteran's specific needs, whether it's diabetic, mobility, blindness, whatever the different issues are, that's what they train that specific dog to do for that veteran. So that's why we needed so much more money. The exalted ruler, Mike Giovanni, and his organization said, well, whatever you can't make to match, we will match that for you and come up with that shortfall. So, saying all of that, so we are giving a total of $20,000 tonight to Canine Heroes for Heroes. So thank you, and I'll turn this over to Jim.
I can't say thank you enough. The irony of all of this is you guys heard of Honor Flight before they spoke, but it's funny. We have all these different organizations getting together and just being a part, and this is about what our community is. When I started volunteering for Honor Flight, that gentleman, those two guys back there, O'Neill and Mark, both of them influenced me and taught me about a different America. Taught me about America that has got freedom, community getting together, and making a difference in the world. And so I quit my job and started K9 Heroes for Our Heroes to September of 2017. And here we are, just about a year later. We rescue dogs. We custom train them to exactly what the veteran or first responder needs. It's about, they've given so much sacrifice. I'm a single mom. I'm an entrepreneur in this country, and I'm able to do that because of what's been done for me. I can literally be safe in this country because of what our first responders do, and I'm so grateful for that, and that's why we're doing this. And I'm grateful to everyone here. Really, I never met you. But really, and that's what it's about, but it's about the cause and it's about what we believe in. It's the better America in my dream. So thank you so much. How can you help us get the word out? We literally custom train these dogs for the veterans, whatever they need, whatever they want, because they've done enough for us. So thank you, guys. Beyond, thank you.
I want to touch on something she said about community. We went to Jonathan and asked, he said, look, can we get a re-up on our $5,000 seed money? And that kind of kicks off our campaign and allows us to plan and do what we need to do. Karen over here from Media Garage, she's kind of our right-hand person and kind of guides us through getting the word out for what we're doing. This little parade has turned into a huge fundraiser. It was always just a way to honor the vets, and it's turned into this. And it's all because of the community. It's all because of these businesses here. They've all donated thousands of dollars, product, services, time, effort. American Legion, Elks, VFW. They've all donated money, time, volunteers. I want to thank everybody and the city, of course, for backing it, because without the city, we don't have anything. So, and then all of you that are participants and sit on your dock and wave them on. That's what it's all about. Just a way to honor the vets.
Right. So thank all of you. Thank all of our sponsors. We couldn't do it without our sponsors, all of our volunteers, and Media Garage Group and her crew over there, Karen. They do their work pro bono. We pay, obviously, for our paperwork, our media, and things like that, but they're as passionate about it as we are, so thank you.
Picture?
Danita. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Pleasure.
What I failed to mention, if anyone here in the audience knows someone that's a World War II and would like them to go on an honor flight, there are applications at the back table. Also, our program books are back there. So if you want to look through our program books, it tells about the history of the parade, some of our sponsors, about Cooper and Eliza, and has all of our sponsors in it. So please feel free to take one of those as well.
Well, once again, congratulations, everybody, and thank you for coming. I think we're going to take a 5-minute recess, and then we will reconvene after that. And it is now 6:41. The next item on the agenda is public comment. The floor is now open for public comment for anything that is not on the agenda. The time is limited to 3 minutes. Please remember to state your name and address and speak directly into microphone. And most important of all, I would ask that you be civil, respectful, and kind. Yes.
Hendricks, John Hendricks, 569 Normandy Road, Madeira Beach. Is this on? Can y'all hear me? Okay. What I wanted to talk about, I guess we all got an email today, and part of that email was regarding repaving of Gulf Boulevard. I wanted to point out that they tried to do this in Treasure Island 2 years ago, right at the peak of tourist season. There was total gridlock. It was backed up about a mile in each direction. Emergency vehicles couldn't get by. Initially, I was told that there was nothing that the city could do about it, but through continued efforts with the city manager and calls to the local FDOT office, they shut that down within a matter of 2 days, moved it out, and postponed it until later in the season when we didn't have all the tourists here, because literally you're going to have traffic backed up for a mile or so in each direction when this goes on. Either that or possibly do it at night, because it's going to be rough on Madeira Beach. Thank you.
Good evening. Guy Critelli, 13025 Pelican Lane. I wanted to thank you very much at the bottom of my heart to the city manager, commissioner, mayor, and all the city come by for giving me the opportunity, especially Mr. Hatcher, that he brought the tent and the table to do the 9/11 memorial with the donation box, and we've been have a very good success. We thank you, the people donate. We continue to thank you, all the people that go by the 9/11 memorial and pay our respect. And we see next month over here on the Madeira Way, and I hope they put a couple bucks in the box for future things that we have to do. And again, thank you again out of the bottom of all the members for the 9/11. Thanks.
Steve Kochick, 15301 2nd Street East, Madeira Beach. Yes, in accordance with the Veterans Boat Parade, I want to thank all the boat owners, the city of Madeira Beach, and everybody that was associated with the Christmas parade, the boat parade. It was spectacular. It comes down the canal right here, right in front of my building, and all my tenants are out. It's just, it's a big event. People come, they line up all along the shore back here and all, and the kids enjoy it. It's one of those special things that only Florida is something that has something like that. And just this is really for the boat owners and all. Just thank you for the time that it takes for you to do it and all. And just to let you know that it is greatly, greatly appreciated here in Madeira Beach. Thank you.
Anyone else wish to speak? Public comment is now closed. Next, we have the consent agenda. And we've taken the surplus list of old items off. Do we have a motion?
Yes, Mayor, I'll make a motion to accept the consent agenda with approvals, yes, to be approved this evening. With the exception of item D, okay, which has already been removed.
Okay.
I'll second.
City Clerk, please call the roll.
Vice Mayor Weinstein,
Yes?
Commissioner Douthat,
Yes.
Commissioner Hodges,
Yes.
Mayor Black.
Yes. And the next, under unfinished business, we've got the appointment for the Civil Service Commission.
Madam Mayor, there is one expired term on the Civil Service Commission. At the December 11th regular board meeting, I was asked to ask the chair of the Civil Service Commission if she would like to be reappointed, if so, to complete an application. So that makes 3. There's Pam Ramison, Reeves Noren, Stephen Michael Cavallero. And this term expires October 30th, 2021.
Excuse me, City Clerk. Excuse me. We're just electing or appointing one person.
There is only one, yes,
Just
ma'am.
one opening.
Yes.
Thank you.
Floor is open for public comment on this item. Floor is closed. Any discussion from the board?
Yes, I have reviewed all 3 of those applications, and I was impressed by all of them, kind of. But I was especially impressed by Mike Cavallero, who has submitted an application, and I really like the spirit in which Mr. Cavallero answered, why would you like to be considered as a candidate for service on this board? Not only has he had leadership, different qualities, personnel, recruiting, coaching, different things that would be helpful to the Civil Service Commission. He said, first and foremost, to serve my city of Madeira Beach and to give back to my community. And I think that that's just extremely important, and I think that that's really great. And I would like to see the appointment of Stephen Michael Cavallero. I don't know who is in the audience today, and I don't know if he is here. Great, okay. Well, I don't know if we want to discuss it a little bit more and then maybe have Mr. Cavallero come up and tell us a little bit about himself.
I think we need to have all 3 of them come up and introduce
That'd be
themselves.
great. Yeah, that's great.
Well, we'll start with you, Mr. Cavallero.
Good evening. Thank you for having me. I was notified about this position maybe about 7 or 8 months ago.
Can you turn the mic?
Or
Try the handheld, yeah.
Try that.
Sounds good.
Better? All right, so I heard about the position. Been in Madeira Beach probably about 7 years. Been a full-time resident about 2 years now. And just looking for an opportunity to get involved, give back to the community, as Debbie said, and be part of the community. I do have a good background in leadership. I've worked for companies, managed many people, HR, recruitment, acquisitions, a lot of business functions. I think that would be beneficial to the city.
Could you expand on your HR background a little bit, please?
Well, in my current position, previous positions, I've done recruitment, coaching, discipline, partnership with HR leaders for, proper, applications, proper hiring, proper terminations, do things by the book, and be upfront with people about that.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Pam Rasmussen?
former people that are on the commission would let me step down. We've been extremely busy to speak to some of Commissioner Weinstein's questions about cost and meetings and things like that. We were tasked, as we were supposed to do on the Civil Service Commission, to handle payroll salaries and also employee policies and procedures handbook, which we did. We passed those off, and we were still in the middle of that project when my term ended. I was asked by the city clerk and the deputy clerk to stay on, and as a citizen and the type of person that I am that gives 110%, I didn't want to leave in the midst of that. We also had agreements going on, and I didn't want to leave it in the middle of that and put that on to whoever came on in my place. I had spoken previously about stepping down. My mother-in-law was very ill, and we were going through some very tough times at home. She has since passed, so that has freed up a lot of my time. And I think I have the history and the knowledge of what's been going on with the Civil Service Commission and why we didn't meet for so long and why we're meeting so much now. And I'd like to be able to stay on and finish what I started. Thank you.
Pam, tell me about your HR background.
I've worked as a supervisor, filled in as a supervisor back in St. Louis, fire service and ambulance service. When I worked back there as a firefighter paramedic. I run the night shift for the operating room at All Children's Hospital. I had to be responsible for playing traffic cap with ER, the ICU, and different things like that. So I'm good at delegating things and working with people like that and knowing policies and procedures.
Thank you.
Thank you. You're fighting. I couldn't see you, Reeves. Come on up.
Happy New Year. Reese Noren, 363 Medallion Boulevard, your closest neighbor. The reason I put in for the civil service opening was primarily to give back. I spent 26 years in the service, and I am one of the luckiest people in the world because I've been blessed both in the military, and when I got out of the military, I went into industry. I was the chief engineer for Midas International. I became the vice president for Coachman Industries for engineering. I had about anywhere from 6,000 to 6,000 people working under me. I don't know a whole lot about HR other than I believe in being fair to your employees, and your employees are what makes your company go. In my civilian capacity, in the military capacity, if you don't have support from your people, you don't have an organization. So I've had very good luck with meeting the best people in the world, both in the military and in the civilian, and I would like to continue doing that sort of thing. I am not an expert on labor law, so I watched the Civil Service Committee meet, and I was impressed with their dedication, their professionalism, and if it comes to a choice between me or Pam, I would recommend you take Pam because she is just super as far as knowing the job and performing in the job. So I would certainly give up my chance to that seat to see Pam stay on because of the job that she's done for you, and I think would continue to do for you. But that's all I have.
Thank you.
I feel like we got three very good candidates. I'd like to see Pam stay on. She's done a fantastic job in the position as the chairperson on the Civil Service Committee. Reese is knowledgeable, and I trust that he is very honest and open, and I think he would be good too. And Mr. Cavallero, is it? Mr. Cavallero? I don't want to lose your application. I think I'd like to see you maybe go towards the planning board. If we ever have the opening there, I'd like to see you come up on that. But at this time, I would like to see Pam continue in her position as a chairperson on the Civil Service Committee.
Well, we need a motion for somebody.
I'll make the motion then to go ahead and reappoint Pam Rasmussen as the chairperson for the Civil Service Committee.
Do we have a second?
No.
May I make a motion?
Yes, you may.
Okay. I would like to make a motion to appoint Stephen Michael Cavallero to the appointment for the Civil Service Commission.
Do we have a second for that motion?
I'll second.
Will City Clerk please call the roll?
Vice Mayor Weinstein,
Yes.
Commissioner Douthat,
Yes.
Commissioner Hodges,
No.
Mayor Black.
Yes. Congratulations.
Thank you, everybody, for applying. Thank you very much.
Absolutely. Next, we have ordinance 2018-15. City Clerk?
Ordinance 2018-15, an ordinance of the City of Madeira Beach, Florida, rehearing ordinance 2017-07, amending Chapter 6 of the Code of Ordinance of the City of Madeira Beach pertaining to alcoholic beverages by amending Section 6-2, closing hours for business establishments serving and/or selling alcoholic beverages to allow for the sale of alcohol beginning at 8:00 a.m. any day of the week due to an advertisement error and by providing for an effective date. On July 11, 2017, the Board of Commissioners adopted Ordinance 2017-07 to amend Section 6.2, closing hours of business establishments serving and/or selling alcoholic beverages to allow for the sale of alcohol beginning at 8:00 a.m. any day of the week. However, due to an error in the public hearing date published in the notice enacting the ordinance, the amended legislation should be reheard. The public hearing was advertised for July 10, 2017, and the public hearing was held on July 11, 2017 instead.
Floor is open for public comment on this item. Floor is now closed. Any discussion from the board?
No, Madam Mayor, but we have gone over this a couple of times, and we are prepared certainly to I move to adopt ordinance 2017-07 on second reading and public hearing, right?
This is 2018.
I mean, 2018. Right, yeah. Why did I say that? I don't know. I was looking at it properly.
Okay, just want to make sure we're doing the right thing.
No, we're looking at the right thing.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Any more discussion? Will City Clerk please call the roll?
Vice Mayor Weinstein,
Yes.
Commissioner Douthat,
Yes.
Commissioner Hodges,
Yes.
Mayor Black.
Yes. Next, we have ordinance 2018-16. City Clerk?
City of Madeira Beach Ordinance Number 2018-16. An ordinance of the City of Madeira Beach, Florida, providing for ballot titles, ballot questions, and text for proposed referendum questions to be placed on the March 12, 2019 municipal election ballot that would amend the charter to change and amend the City of Madeira Beach charter to provide for simple majority vote to take Board of Commissioners action, term limits, forfeiture of office for knowing violations of certain state laws, forfeiture of office after 3 unexcused absences, adjustment of district boundaries every 5 years, adopt state law for recall procedures, induction of newly elected commissioners, recognize city manager and remove city treasurer on the list of charter officers, delegation of commission investigation procedures, special magistrate to replace Board of Adjustment, citizens initiative and referendum procedures, providing effective dates, providing for severability. And this is second reading and public hearing.
Floor is open for public comment on this item. Floor is closed. Any discussion?
No, except I did go back and I looked at the first reading, okay, and compared it, and I find that everything is just like what the city clerk said. So, ready to make a motion to adopt ordinance 2018-16 on second reading and public hearing.
Second.
Will the city clerk please call the roll?
Vice Mayor Weinstein?
Yes.
Commissioner Hodges?
Yes.
Commissioner Douthat?
Yes.
Mayor Black?
Yes. Next, we have ordinance 2018-17. City clerk?
Ordinance number 2018-17, an ordinance of the City of Madeira Beach, Florida, amending City of Madeira Beach Code of Ordinances, Division 2, Lot, Yard, Height, and Other Site Area Regulations, Section 110-428, same side yard of corner lot, amending depth of side yard setback, providing for conflict, providing for severability, providing for an immediate effective date.
Madam Mayor and Commissioners, this item has come before you before. You asked that it be amended during the process to allow for the same side setback for corner lots in all residential, single-family residential districts, and that amendment was made.
Okay. The floor is open for public comment on this item. Floor is closed. Any discussion?
Well, we discussed this a lot too. And so here we are at the second, for the second hearing on it. And I'm prepared to make a motion to adopt ordinance 2018-17 on second reading.
Second.
Will the city clerk please call the roll?
Vice Mayor Weinstein?
Yes.
Commissioner Hodges?
Yes.
Commissioner Douthat?
Yes.
Mayor Black?
Yes. Next, we have ordinance 2018-18. City clerk.
Ordinance number 2018-18, an ordinance of the City of Madeira Beach, Florida, amending City of Madeira Beach Code of Ordinances, Article 5, Marine Structures, Division 3, Docks, Section 14-213, location of Boca Bay and Johns Pass east of Johns Pass Bridge, construction specifications generally establishing standards for the height of the new or replacement seawalls, providing for conflict, providing for severability, providing for an immediate effective date.
Floor is open for public comment. Floor is closed. Any discussion from the board?
I'll make a motion then to pass ordinance 2018-18.
I'll second.
Will the city clerk please call the roll?
Commissioner Hodges?
Yes.
Commissioner Douthat?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Weinstein?
Yes.
Mayor Black?
Yes. Next, we have ordinance 2018-19. City clerk.
Ordinance number 2018-19, an ordinance of the City of Madeira Beach, Florida, amending City of Madeira Beach Code of Ordinances, Chapter 94, Floodplain Management, updating definitions, clarifying the duties and powers of the floodplain administrator, clarifying permitting authority, amending requirements for site plan criteria and additional analysis, specifying criteria, procedure and authority for appeals and variances, amending criteria for violation resolution, amending criteria for the use of fill, providing for conflict, providing for severability, providing for an immediate effective date.
Floor is open for public comment. Floor is closed. Any discussion from the board?
I was going to ask the director, I know that we went over this before, but would you just explain to me again, because I just read it again, the last sentence in the background, the staff recommends altered language to non-conversion clause per recommendation by FEMA. Explain to me if that is again.
The FEMA requests and provide points for cities that have a non-conversion agreement. The language, they give out several options on the language that can be used for that. The purpose is to have people commit ahead of time to not filling in their ground floor and to having that agreement recorded with the deed so that when there's property transfer, incoming owners understand that what the requirements are, and also understand that if there's been infill to the property, that they stand to suffer some loss of insurance or extra expense associated with insurance. And one of the factors that gives us extra points is having language in there that allows the city to do inspections with proper notice ahead of time. So we had recommended, we have been using that form. We had brought it before the commission once before at the request, and it was discussed that although we aren't going around making random inspections, there are times when we have had code enforcement complaints or something of that nature that, we have asked to have to see what was going on, that sort of thing. But we would always give notice, I think it's a 48-hour notice ahead of time, to look and make sure that there's no code violation and that the ground floor has not been infilled.
Okay, yes, thank you very much then for...
To avoid confusion, instead of using the word fill, it's using it for habitable space. They're allowed to put dirt and fill as opposed to enclosing and then using for habitable space.
Well, they are not allowed to put fill on the ground, not into the ground floor here, because the first living floor is anywhere from 10 to 14 feet in the air, and that much fill would not be allowed. There's a very small amount of fill that can be put into small contained areas.
So we're inspecting maybe for fill, but we're also inspecting for habitable space, right?
Exactly, that is what I should have said. You're right. It can't be enclosed for habitable space, but even beyond that, it can't be enclosed for additional storage beyond 300 square feet. So there are a number of different criteria for what you can do there. This is becoming increasingly important because with the new FEMA maps, there are a number of areas that used to be A zones in our residential areas that are going to be V, or are going to be coastal A, which would be regulated as V zones. So they will not be able to even enclose to the degree that we have allowed them enclosed up to this point. They would have to have breakaway walls with seams between them in the future in some areas in the city. So it's very important people know that they can't seal those up. It would cost them, and also it creates a hazard for neighboring properties.
Thank you very much for clarifying, Manny. I appreciate it. I know that we had discussed it at great length, and it is important because we don't want to jeopardize anybody's discounts or whatever, and by somebody doing something they ain't supposed to do. Thank you very much.
When does the new FEMA code go?
We don't.
Designated areas go into effect?
Yes, we really don't know because it depends. They have a hearing process, and that can be, they have to actually get to the point they've opened the hearing process, and we don't know what date they're going to do that, and that'll start a 60-day appeal process, and then there's other appeal and hearing processes that follow that. We had estimated that it would be at least 18 months from when they were talking to us this summer, maybe longer. It really is hard to say.
Thank you.
Just for your information from the mayor, since we're discussing it, we have been letting people know when they come in that their property designation is likely to change. And to date, everybody who's building new is actually building to standards that will meet the new FEMA maps. It's just they feel it's in their best interest to just make sure that they go ahead and use the new standards. So it's been going pretty well so far.
If they did the other one, would they be grandfathered under?
They would be, yes.
Okay.
I'll make a motion, but did we ask for public comment yet?
Yes, we did.
Oh, okay. Couldn't remember. Yes, I will move to adopt the ordinance 2018-19 on second reading.
I'll second.
City Clerk, please call the roll.
Vice Mayor Weinstein,
Yes?
Commissioner Douthat,
Yes.
Commissioner Hodges,
Yes.
Mayor Black.
Yes. We have, excuse me, we have no contracts or agreements, and under new business, I believe the first item is the surplus items.
Yes, Madam Mayor, if I can have Director of Finance, Mr. Walter Pierce, present that item to the Board of Commissioners.
Madam Mayor and Commissioners, this agenda item is to present to you a list of assets for disposal. In September, as part of your year-end procedures, we send out spreadsheets to the city departments listing all their assets and instructed them to verify the assets. And through that process, there were assets that were disposed of, missing, or not identifiable that came to our attention. And some of this attention came to me last year, and as being new to the city, I was still investigating it. But this year, it just came more prevalent that 107 assets were disposed of in the past years, dating back even to 95, that for one reason or another are just, like I said, disposed of, missing, or not identifiable. And these total, and currently we are carrying them on the books, their asset value. Currently in total, this total is $879,937. And what we're asking is that these items that we just can't find from the city's inventory system and be removed or written off. And actually this will help us make our financial reporting more accurate and our CAFRA more accurate. Most of these items, for one reason or another, whether it was the old city hall that got teared down and items in there, or the old Public Works building that was on the marina property and items in there, for one reason or another, the items that were contained in there were just replaced or just sold or given away and never written off or taken off our books. So again, this would make our books more accurate. So this total of $879,937 is the asset value. Most of these assets, with the exception of 6, have been fully depreciated. So this total reflects the asset value that will come off the city's assets. Now, just to let you know, the total assets that the city grew or increased to during this past fiscal year increased past 5.7 million. So this will be offset against that. So when you see the CAFRA that comes out for 2018, you will still see significant growth of assets that the city is continuing to grow. And the auditor will make that more clear when he addresses the board when he does present the audit. So it is the recommendation that these be disposed of and that with your approval, that these items will be taken off our system.
Well, it's a shame that it wasn't taken care of, year after year, but we are where we are now, so it seems like that's the most prudent decision.
I have one question. Well, it's not really a question, I guess, it's just a comment, but it's been so many years since perhaps one of these was done. Do we know if it was ever done? I mean, we say a lot of years, I was just curious,
When I talked to my staff, my predecessor actually sent out the same documents to the departments to have them identify the assets, and why these particular assets weren't taken and written off and with approval, I just don't know.
Okay, well, I appreciate staff for being diligent about it now and
But it's always been my past, wherever I've been, as part of my year-end procedures, to look at the assets and reconcile the ones that have been disposed, and have staff, be responsible for locating their assets. Mm-hmm. And I've talked to the city manager. One weakness that I have seen here that I've talked to the city manager about is we are in need of a new tracking system of assets. And while our minimum number is 5,000 and up that we track, I truly believe that we also need to track an amount that's lower than that, because laptops and your printers now are much, they are lower than the 5,000, and we still want to track down to that level to make sure and be accountable, and that we have proper controls to make sure that we are making sure those items stay within the city.
Thank you.
What level would you change that to from 5,000?
Yeah, I think it all depends. I think it depends on actually what's purchased. I think that laptops, printers, if you're talking 2,000 to 250, and if you get an expensive printer that's in 1,000 or more, I think those items should be tracked. And with the tracking system also comes, and I talked to the city manager about this too, comes with the barcoding and actually the stamping or the coding of assets, and making sure there's a number on there, and so that's a weakness that I've seen. I've also talked to the auditor about it last year, and so I think it's just a further attempt to control some of the city's assets.
The floor is now open for public comment. Floor is closed. Any more discussion on the board? We have a motion?
Well, I agree with the recommendation to, the list of assets to be disposed of and to be removed from the Finance Department's capital fixed asset. Do we need to make a motion on this, or is it? Okay.
Yes.
Well, I'll make a motion to take the director, make a motion to, oh dear, how should I word this? Wait a minute. Make a motion to take staff's approval of the list of assets to be disposed of and to be removed from the Finance Department's capital fixed asset software system for fiscal year 2018. That's the motion.
I'll second.
Will the city clerk please call the roll?
Vice Mayor Weinstein?
Yes.
Commissioner Douther?
Yes.
Commissioner Hodges?
Yes.
Mayor Black?
Yes. The next item is Resolution 2019-01. City Clerk?
Ordinance 2019-01. An ordinance of the City of Madeira Beach, Florida, calling for a general municipal election on March the 12th, 2019, for the purpose of electing a commissioner for District 3 and a commissioner for District 4, for the purpose of voting on 11 charter amendments, providing authorization for the City of Madeira Beach through its city clerk to contract with the Pinellas County Supervisors of Elections, providing for publication, authorizing election expenditures, identifying the Pinellas County Canvassing Board as the Canvassing Board for the March 12, 2019 election, identifying the location of polling places, authorizing a runoff election if necessary, providing for repeal of ordinances or parts of ordinances in conflict herewith to the extent of such conflict, and providing for an effective date. Whereas pursuant to the City Charter, Section 3.4, subsection A, elections for commissioners of Districts 3 and 4 shall be held in odd-numbered years, and the term for the commissioners of districts shall be for 2 years. And whereas pursuant to the City Charter, Section 3.4, subsection 8, all elections shall be held in the city on the second Tuesday in March of each year for the purpose of electing successors to the elective offices. Now therefore be it ordained by the Board of Commissioners of the City of Madeira Beach, Florida. An election shall be held in the City of Madeira Beach, Florida on Tuesday, March the 12th, 2019, for the purpose of electing a commissioner for District 3 and a commissioner for District 4, and for the purpose of voting on 11 charter amendments. The city clerk is hereby authorized to execute a contract with the Pinellas County Supervisor of Elections to allow for the office of the Supervisor of Elections to assist in the city in the March 12, 2019 municipal election, subject to the conditions, considerations, and agreements described in the contract to be effective January 8, 2019. The 2-year term for district commissioners will commence at the first regular meeting following the election. In the event of a runoff election is necessitated for a particular seat, the new term would commence at the first regular meeting following the runoff election. However, if Charter Amendment Number 7 passes by the qualified voters of the City of Madeira Beach at the municipal election on March 12, 2019, the induction of new Board of Commissioners will commence at the first regular or special meeting on or before the last day of the month in which the election is held, which also applies to runoff elections. In accordance with City Charter Section 3.4, subsection B, amended by the qualified voters of the City of Madeira Beach on November 6, 2018, at the general election, the Pinellas County Canvassing Board serves as the Canvassing Board for the City of Madeira Beach. The Canvassing Board shall certify all tests of election equipment and shall canvass absentee as well as provisional ballots. The official final election results certified by the Canvassing Board shall be announced at the next meeting of the Board of Commissioners following certification for the purpose of declaring the results of said election. In accordance with the City Charter, Section 3.4, subsection E, in the event that no candidate for each office secures a majority of the votes cast in each contest for office in March 12, 2019 municipal election, then and in that event another election shall be held on the second Tuesday in April 9, 2019, at which election only the names of the 2 candidates having the highest number of votes in the first election in which no candidate received a majority of the votes cast in each contest shall be placed upon the ballot. At the second election, the electors may vote for each contest appearing on the ballot. In the event 2 candidates for each office should receive an equal number of votes for the same office in the second election provided for above, another election shall be called and held on the 4th Tuesday, April 23, 2019, following such election, at which election the names of the candidates receiving the same number of votes shall again be placed upon the ballot. In accordance with the City Charter, Section 3.4, subsection B, the location of the polling place, Pinellas County precincts numbers 301 and 415 for the elections will be held at the following locations. Precinct 415, Madeira Beach Municipal Building, City Center Room, 300 Municipal Drive, Madeira Beach, Florida. Precinct 301, Faith Community Church of Seminole, 11501 Walker Avenue, Seminole, Florida 33772. Section 7, all ordinance or parts of ordinance in conflicts with the provision of this ordinance be hereby repealed insofar as the same affect this ordinance. Section 8, this ordinance shall take effect immediately upon adoption in the matter provided by law.
Any discussion from the board? No. Floor is open for public comment. Floor is closed.
I'll make the motion to pass ordinance 2019-01.
I'll second that motion.
Will the city clerk please call the roll?
Commissioner Hodges?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Weinstein?
Yes.
Commissioner Douther?
Yes.
Mayor Black?
Yes. Next, we have Resolution 2019-01. City clerk.
Resolution 2019-01. Resolution 2019-01 by the Board of Commissioners recognizing certain cities within Pinellas County as peer cities, and that the Board of Commissioners supports and recognizes these cities as viable and comparable agencies that the city should desire to be compared against as it relates to level services, personnel, wages, fringe benefits, infrastructure, maintenance and capital, tax rate, etc., providing for severability, providing for repealer, providing for an effective date.
Madam Mayor and members of the board, pursuant to the decision that the board made on December 18th, 2018, city staff reviewed a couple of municipal entities that were considered peer agencies. When we went forward with the compensation of classification study, we looked at 9 particular entities to look at wages and benefits. But in our conversations with the board, we really wanted to drill down to the 5 agencies that are considered our true comparables. So when we do projects and an analysis throughout the organization, that those are the cities that we would survey to get their opinion and perspective on a multitude of different things. The 5 cities that were considered peer agencies that the board articulated in the December 18th meeting was the city of Treasure Island, the city of St. Pete Beach, Indian Rocks Beach, city of Gulfport, and the city of South Pasadena. The 9 entities that were utilized for the purposes of the compensation and classification analysis that the city is embarking upon and will be completed in May is the city of Treasure Island, the city of St. Pete Beach, the city of Indian Rocks Beach, city of Seminole, city of Bel Air, city of Gulfport, Kennett City, and the city of South Pasadena, and the city of Pinellas Park. When we looked at these entities, we looked at a multitude of different things: their general fund, the types of services they provide, and then their geographical location. So when the board does direct staff to do projects and initiatives, those are the entities, the 5 that we would look at to compare. In the event that we would like to include more for the purposes of providing additional information to the board, we would look to expand out to that 9. But for all intent and purpose, the 5 will be the ones that we would utilize if the board directs staff to do some additional research. And at this time, staff recommends approval of Resolution 2019-01, sorry.
Any discussion from the board?
I think it was a wonderful, a very productive session that we had when we finally accomplished this. And I thank you very much, City Manager, for putting it together, because I think now we don't have to dilly-dally around and decide who we're going to use, because we have really researched and we've thought about it a lot as to what communities we want to use for what specific purposes. Thank you.
Floor is open for public comment. Floor is closed. Any more discussion?
I'll make the motion to pass resolution 2019-01.
I'll second.
Will city clerk please call the roll?
Commissioner Hodges?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Weinstein?
Yes.
Commissioner Douther?
Yes.
Mayor Black?
Yes. Next, we have a 2 COP alcoholic beverage application. Director Pertel?
Yes, Madam Mayor and Commissioners, we are proposing to continue this item at this time because there are some issues with overlapping permitting and code enforcement that have to be resolved. We're actually unable to, because of code requirements, approve an additional permit until everything that's currently underway has been resolved.
All right, so then we'll table that until we get that information.
Yes, we will probably be able to put this back on your next regular agenda, but we'll continue to work with that.
Thank you. The next item then is a TCOP alcoholic beverage license number 2018-04 for the Madeira Beach Juicery.
Yes. And Mayor Commissioners, as this states, the intent here is to effectively add items to the menu at the juicery to allow them alcoholic beverage content. And there's no proposal to expand hours or to add seating or anything of that nature. And so it's not anticipated to generate additional traffic, automobile traffic, or parking requirements since there's no additional seating or additional space. We have just made the point in the recommendation that, and I know that they're aware, they'll need to just watch their customers because any alcoholic beverage will need to be consumed on site. We don't allow alcoholic beverages to be consumed on the sidewalks or right-of-ways of the city, so that it'll just require different administration on their part. So the staff recommend approval, given the impacts have been analyzed and they meet the code.
Any discussion from the board?
Yes. I don't think that we should allow package sales in sealed containers. You know, I don't mind having the beer and wine sold there, but to do carry out with package, I don't agree with that.
Madam Mayor, if I could clarify, we have to list that as allowed by the license because that's the definition of the license that the state has, but you can, that's not their intent. And so you can certainly approve it conditional upon it not having package sales as part of the use.
I have a question. It was always my understanding that the 2 COP license never included the package sales. Has it changed recently in the state, or has it always been that way? Or do you know?
The last few that we've reviewed have included it, and we took the definition right out of what they're using now. I was surprised when I started reviewing these again as well because I didn't remember that from the past, but I can't say if and when that changed.
Well, I have to agree with Commissioner Dothert because I walk the streets of probably, I know, from Johns Pass Village all the way to 140th or further than that every morning. And I can't tell you how much more the bottles and cans are thrown. Now, I know that we used to say a lot of people would bring things to the, to the city, okay, in their own private containers, okay? But, and maybe that was the case for years, but now I don't, it's one thing to consume it. I think that's fine, but I don't like this package sales unless we absolutely have, unless we're required by law.
And Madam Mayor, in terms of the staff review, a packaged store would generate a lot different kind of traffic as well. People driving up quickly and then leaving again, a lot of repeat traffic. So that would definitely have impacted our consideration. We'd have had to look at levels of service on the roadways. So that was not anticipated because they specifically don't intend to use it that way.
The floor is open for public comment on this item. Yes, sir. Oh, please come up to the podium.
Thank you. It's working, right? My name is Gary Payne, and I own the property at 155G Madeira Way.
And can you state your home address as well?
And my home address is,
I can't.
you can't hear me? Okay. My home address is in Georgia, 134 Thunder Road in Edenton, Georgia. And so we maintain a condo here because I have grandkids in this area and come down with them. And I rise in opposition to this. I submitted opposition when you guys first approved the dive bar, and you went ahead and done that. And basically, my concern is noise and public drunkenness. The other morning, it was on the January the 2nd at 4 o'clock in the morning, I was awakened. And they were people, you know, my property backs up to the fence behind the dive bar, and, you know, the parking overflows into there. And there were 3 guys and 2 women that were drunk and making lots and lots of noise, okay? And, you know, I've contacted the county, and I didn't get a response from them, but I did talk to your person here at the city today, and I've looked at the noise laws, and I don't think you have any way of managing this or policing it. You don't have a police force. And what you're telling me as a resident, then I have the responsibility for doing that. For example, I've got to, you know, file a complaint, and then there'll be a $50 fine, and then it builds up from there. And I don't think you want us in that business. And, you know, if you'll allow me, you know, and it's not just there, it's noise altogether. You know, those people were really loud. It's happened a number of times before. I sat there and listened at it. But the other morning, the other day, the brown boxer, for example, right up the street, you know, their noise was so loud that at 8:41 at night, I mean, I couldn't even lay down. And when you look at the code says 55 decibels in a residential zone. I'm in a residential zone. And the county's document says, for example, that would be like 2 people having a normal conversation 5 feet apart. Now, I can assure you that's not what's coming across. And, you know, it's 72 decibels, you know, in a commercial area. But if it flows over into a residential, it's 55. And so what you're going to do, if you continue to expand this and you don't have a police force to manage it, then you're going to put me in that business. I'm going to buy a decibel meter, you know, and then I'll start filing complaints, and that's not good. So I urge you guys to back up and think about what you're doing with alcohol, expanding alcohol in the Madeira Way. Okay, any questions for me?
No, we're not allowed to have a dialogue during public comment. We have a late, no, Bill, someone's.
Somebody behind you.
Somebody's behind you. You're next.
My name is Peg Morgan Stern. I live across
Please,
the street.
please use the microphone so that the people at home can hear you as well.
My name is
Hold it up to your mouth.
Across the street, I live in
Hold it up to your mouth like
My name
this.
is Peg Morgan Stern. Do you hear me? Okay. I'm a owner over at Ocean Sands. In fact, I'm an owner of 2 places. I have a studio, which I didn't know what was a studio when I came down here, but I found out soon enough. So I lived there, and then I bought a 1-bedroom. I graduated. Me and my cat live there. So the question I have, I live directly across from Fertilis. Also, we have another bar on the other side, open bar, and they have music that plays. They don't serve food. I have a question. Are these other ones going to serve food with their alcohol? Do you know, any of you?
Well, again, the public comment is not a time when we're supposed to respond to you,
Okay, you don't have
but
to, this is my first time.
for the record, I will say I believe they will be serving food.
Okay, so I was just wondering that. And another thing I was suggesting, that I think if you're going to serve alcohol, you have to have responsible bartenders to be aware when your patient is getting inebriated. Okay? So I think to cover yourself, you should have a liability insurance on any kid that goes out of there as an alcoholic and kills a child or a family. And that's how I feel about drunk drivers, because I had that happen to me. I lost a son because of that. So I'm very much against alcohol, because it doesn't lead to good if they over-imbibe. And then with the help of a bartender, and where these are situated, they're like 100 feet away. They can walk out of one bar and walk across the street to another. That's the only comment. I don't care if they want to be in business, be in business. But have an insurance policy for $1 million. So if there's someone goes out and wipes the family out, someone has to pay for that. That's how I feel. Thank you for listening. And I want you all to know, you have a wonderful manager. He doesn't know that I remember, but I went, before he was hired, I was there the day he was being interviewed, and it started to rain, and I had been there to get a pass for John's Pass, since I'm a resident here, and they didn't have the passes. And then the storm, the skies opened up. Do you remember? And he got his umbrella and put his top coat on and walked up to my car, and I parked across the street by Winn-Dixie, but close to the barrier to the road, so I wouldn't have to cross. I don't know why I did that, but I did anyhow. And I had problems walking, as you noticed when I came up. And so he just held it all the way, and he's this tall, I'm this low, and, you know, he was getting soaking wet, and I was getting to the car without any drop on me. So I really appreciate it, and I never forgot it. And I want him to be recognized on it, because he was so kind. And that's all I have to say. So I hope you got the drift of my message, Joe. I'm not against the people opening a bar. I think they should serve food with the bar, and I think they should carry, and I know you can't force it, but it sure would be helpful, I think. It would open their eyes a little bit when they're making the money. Okay, thank you very much.
Ma'am, I'm sorry for your loss, and thank you for your comments. Yes, Bill.
Bill Gay, 423 150th Avenue, Madeira Beach. I just wanted to play off the earlier gentleman's concern about noise pollution coming from the bars. I lived just before the marina, and the Brown Boxer was very, very loud the other evening, late into the evening. And it's in a residential area, although it's zoned commercial and, mixed use. But you have 300-plus units over in the yacht club that would be affected by that noise. On the south side of 150th Avenue, there are about 150 condo units that were affected by the noise also. And there are some residential districts just south of 150th Avenue, single family, that would be listening to the music from the Brown Boxer. I don't think that's something we need, and I think there's a need to exercise some control over that. Thank you.
One 13025 Pelican Lane. I understand about people want to make money on business, but you know, we used to have an ordinance many years ago. I don't know how many people that remember this ordinance. You got to be 500 feet for another bar. Then we go with 350 feet to one bar to another bar. Now, on John's Pass, every t-shirt shop, they want to be a beer drinking. And that's thing that's coming up every day. one pull out to whatever. But it's not that I don't like about these people having a business. But when they started to turn to a drinking party just about every night, it's crazy. The bamboo, just like they say about the box, be noisy. On Saturday night, they kill us. At night, after 6 o'clock, the bamboo, it's like, I can even hear my TV at night. And I got double pane window. I never saw a sheriff go by there. I haven't seen a sheriff go by the area for weeks and weeks. So we need a problem. The ordinance there for the decimal. Somebody should patrol for those decimal, including the people over here for all the residents. You know, we all Madeira Beach. No matter what bar they have anywhere over here in this town, there should be, once in a while, the sheriff should go say, hey, your decimal is above normal, pull it down, take it down. And you don't get residents like me or the gentleman coming before me or anybody else to say it's bad. We like to be on Madeira Beach. I like to be on Madeira Beach. I've been on Madeira Beach for 38 years, 39 years. I want to be on Madeira Beach. But, you know, it become, the last 3 years, it became like, do I want to be on Madeira Beach? I got to say the truth. I love Madeira Beach. I want to be here. But, you know, on John's Pass, every t-shirt shop we give a permit to beer. What are we going to be? A beer city, Madeira Beach? You know, from juice to beer. I don't understand this. I think a business like a t-shirt should promote themselves with picture and beauty, no beer. The drink should promote themselves with coconut outside and papaya and pineapples, hangy, and draw people in, no beer and wine. And I like the kid, you know, these guys, they'll try to make it. I understand, but do something that attract people to come to your business, no beer and wine. You already have 4 locations right there on Madeira Way. It's 5, actually, already with beer and wine. Why do we need another one? And then also on Madeira Beach and John's Pass. I thank you for listening to me.
My name is Lexi Davies, 247 Rex Place, and I'm one of the co-owners of Madeira Beach Juicery. We, first and foremost, are not a bar. We are a restaurant. We have acai bowls, we have smoothies, we have juices. So we're really catering to more of like a healthy crowd. But there are people who come in with their healthy friends who are looking for sangrias and things of that sort. So if you were to offer beer and wines, it'll be more of like beer and wine cocktails versus just like a bar scenario. People are just coming in to have, you know, a beer. It'll be more of a, you know, someone will have probably a smoothie and maybe they'll want to mix some wine into it, or it'll be simpler things than just, you know, a bar scene. In regards to music, we're not really planning on having any kind of loud music. Our hours are not very late. Right now our hours are until 7 at the latest on weekends, so it wouldn't be anything impacting anyone's bedtimes. We might expand hours at some point, maybe to 9 p.m., but that wouldn't, we'd really have to consider that, and we'd have to find staffing and everything. So for right now, this is just a very simple request for a beer and wine license to help us try and grow. I mean, we have requests every week of people asking us, you know, why don't you guys offer wine? You know, you guys have all this stuff here, you have all these fresh juices, why don't you mix them and make them into some great sangria or make them into some sort of, you know, pina colada? But, you know, obviously we don't want to offer hard liquors or anything of that sort. We're not planning on ever going for that. So beer and wine is as far as we would take it. And we would really just appreciate being able to do that because we were hit really hard by red tide. And Madeira Way is a great place, and we're so thankful to be here, and I love living in the city. And it's just been very hard having our business in that area because it's very dead a lot of times. And so it's hard to draw people out when there's not a real, I guess, having these different bars is a good sense of community in a way, because people are coming out more. People might be like having a drink at one of them, but let's say, oh, what are these other places nearby? Let me walk down the street and take a look. And so even if some of the shops are closed, they get to see the area and get to know it and things like that. So we're hoping maybe if we are able to offer beer and wine as well, it'll entice people to walk down that way more too, instead of just the two ends of the street. People will actually kind of walk in between and stuff and see that we also have more to offer. So, if they bring their kids, a mom can have a sangria while her kid is having an acai bowl or smoothie or something along those lines. Does anyone have any questions for me?
This is public comment only.
Regards to insurance, we would have, our insurance would be covering everything. Our liability would cover anyone, I'm pretty sure. So, I don't know, I think I covered everything I can say.
Thank you. Yes.
Can you guys hear me? Okay. 247 Rex Place. So I understand the intention of the juicery. They've already started establishing more of a restaurant base. They've offered coffee, like she was saying, the juices, the smoothies, the acai bowls. I have seen people come in there where they're curious to see what else there is to offer, and we want to expand and grow with your community and your city. I've only been here for a few years. She's been here for a little bit longer than me, and her family is from this area. We've seen it change dramatically, and we continues to see the growth in this community. So we're not trying to create an environment where, like the gentleman earlier was saying, the whole party, like beer, Madeira Beach beer, I think that's what he was referring to. We just want to offer something that's being asked for in our establishment. We understand that there is always a risk when people are drinking, but we appreciate that we will be conscious about how much these people are consuming. They're not going to be there for hours on end. There's no actual bar scene. If there is a drink that wants to be ordered, they would order it, drink it, and then they would go on their way, just like you do in many restaurants. So we're not trying to refer to ourselves like a bar. It's like if you go to, there's coffee shops that have beer now, and they're pretty quiet coffee shops, so it's not our intention to go out and make more of a disruption within the community. I know a lot of people living on the opposite side and on the yacht club are concerned over the music. There's only music inside, and it's very soft playing. There will be people around our area, but we're on the opposite side of the street, and we'll always be conscious about the noise in the area, because like she was saying, our hours are only till 7 right now, so we're not trying to make any more of an impact and cause any more disruption than we have to. We're just trying to survive.
Madam Mayor, if I may, for the edification of the public and those that are watching, there is a section in the code that I have provided to the community director, but also law enforcement is here to provide some perspective as to how the noise issues are handled with regards to those complaints in our community, because the code speaks specifically to those types of situations. So it may provide some clarity, because there seems to be confusions with the county's ordinance versus the city's, and the city's ordinance is profoundly different than how the county manages the noise complaints and those types of things. So if Deputy Schneider would be so inclined to provide some perspective on that, and Director Portel does have the section of the code as well.
We have adopted the county's ordinance as well, but wherever ours is more restrictive, we would be using our ordinance. So the second page there.
Section 34 dash.
You'll need to use that microphone.
Section 34-87, as it applies to noise. Section 5 talks about radios, amplifiers, phonographs, etc. It says the using, operation, or permitting to be placed or used or operated any radio, amplifier, musical instrument, phonograph, or other device for the producing or reproducing of sound in such a manner as to cause loud and raucous noise is prohibited. Amplified outdoor sound, music, or live entertainment shall be prohibited between the hours of 9 p.m. to 7:30 a.m. Sunday through Thursday, and 11 p.m. to 7:30 Friday through Saturday, unless approved by the city manager. So if we have issues where the music is occurring up until 9 o'clock Sunday through Thursday, if we got a complaint, we'd have to go address it. But if it is happening up to that time, we would not consider it a violation. A first violation for it would be a $50 fine. And again, we encourage people, if stuff is occurring past these times, to call the non-emergency, to have a deputy come out and evaluate the sound and look at the times. But like I say, up to the times that's in the code, it would not be enforced. We would not take enforcement action against anyone if it's before that time or up to.
So to Deputy Schneider's point, if there was ever to be a modification to that, it would require a modification to the code. But as it stands right now, that's the policy that's on the books, and that is the mechanism that law enforcement utilizes when they interact with members of the public that could be in violation of that particular section of the code. Since my tenure here, I haven't granted or provided any authorization to extend the playing of music outside of that time. But certainly if we are going to make modifications to the code, I would recommend that you take away that ability for the manager to make that unilateral decision. I think it's better off that you say it's going to start at this time, stop at this time, and leave it as that, because you leave it subjective that I may think 10 o'clock is fine, or 11 o'clock, or 12 o'clock is fine, where somebody else may think it's, better suited to end at, 9:45 or what have you. So that's something that the board may want to consider, is adopting some, specific policy and removing the authority for the manager to make that decision. Because if my family's having a family function and I grant additional time, and then, the Boys and Girls Club wants to do something, I can cut it short. It just leaves opportunity for inconsistency.
I got a question. Like the gentleman said earlier, but then he's got a complaint. Why aren't the police policing it? You understand? Like, if you go by the Brown Boxer and it's 10 o'clock at night and the noise is extremely loud, why do we have to wait for a resident to complain before something's done?
I can't cite any specific event that it was occurring, but like I say, if there's a learning curve to some of the deputies that come to the city, because if they work in different parts of the county, different rules apply. And we do have a rotation at 6 months. And we try to educate the deputies when they come in to familiarize themselves with the city code, so that they can be familiar with the times that stuff can be, the start time and the finish time. And I can't say that every deputy is familiar with the times that it should shut off at. And that's why we encourage people, they can make a phone call and express their concerns that it is too late. But I don't think it's just they're not enforcing it. Some don't know. Some, like I said, we try to educate them when they come into the city, because we're more familiar with the city code. We try to tell them how to find these in the municipal code and resources. But like I say, if it's happening at Sunday through Thursday, 11 p.m., so they can play up to, according to the code, they can play up to 11 o'clock at night.
On Friday, Saturday.
I'm sorry, yes, yeah, Thursday, Friday through Saturday till 11. So, and if it's occurring after that, then they need to call. So, not in the new city code that we can find.
That our code, Madam Mayor, if I can help here, our code does reference, we did adopt the county's ordinance. The county's ordinance is in effect for the city. The only time ours would be used is if it were more restrictive. So the county has a lot more detail in terms of what decibels, as you heard earlier what type of decibel range is acceptable under certain conditions. And so that would be the reference that would be made, is also letting the officers know that it's the county's code that's in effect except for these specifics on when noise cuts off. And actually, it's similar. The county does have amplified noise restrictions during certain hours, just as it does with things like construction noise that can't occur after certain hours. What we can do is get that information pulled together and get it to deputies. I mean, they have the county code, but just maybe do a summary as to what portions of the city code are used because they're more specific or more restrictive, and provide a summary on how we handle noise here in the city. That would probably help if they had that all pulled together for them, so we can do that.
But the problem I hear is when I talk to people, they call the non-emergency number, but they come out and they say, well, we don't have any way to measure the decibels. So is that true that you don't have?
Yeah, we don't have I mean, there may be some deputies that have the meters, but I don't have one. I don't know that any of the deputies that work in the city have one either. So.
And Mayor, Madam Mayor, before there were decibel meters even available to people, ordinances were written as the section that was just read by the deputy, and they said things like offensive or obnoxious or raucous noise, and the standard that was used to evaluate that was called the reasonable man standard, or reasonable person standard. That being, you know, when the officer gets there, if it to them under reasonable conditions sounds like it's raucous or too loud, then they could take action. It is difficult when you start assigning exact decibels to things. It's a great way to evaluate for big projects or long-term situations, but it's difficult for them to use on a day-by-day basis.
Okay. We'll have public comment after.
So how do we correct that problem? Do we supply them with decibel meters? What, I mean, I don't know.
The code doesn't call for the use of decibel readers. So unless you would have to modify the code.
You do have it.
I've written a few noise ordinances for the city of Key West, for Monroe County, and I spent this morning going over a potential noise ordinance for Captiva Island. That's separate really from the matter at issue with this liquor license. It may be something that we want to pick up and visit, would be a revamp of our noise ordinance. And we'd have to advertise that for 2 public hearings. Some things we've done in noise ordinances in Key West and in Monroe County is have a decibel reading, 55 during certain evening hours, 65 or 70 during the daytime, and then also have a violation of a decibel of X number of level during this number of hours, or these hours of the day or evening during these days of the week, or any nuisance level noise, loud and raucous noise. We can have an or criteria to pick up noises that aren't otherwise covered. Key West also has a ban on outdoor amplified music after a certain time. And they also institute in their ordinance a warning system where each bar and restaurant is given one warning to turn the music down after a certain time. And if they don't turn the music down, then they're given a citation. The ordinance is written such that if you receive a certain number of citations in a year, your license is revoked. Your ability to have outdoor amplified music is revoked, or amplified music is not just have to be live, but it could be speakers outside. So those are the kinds of things that we can address in redoing a noise ordinance. But those are too hard to set up today. Any bar or restaurant would be subject to a new noise ordinance if we make it effective on the date that we adopt it. So if it turns out, yes, we do need to revisit our noise ordinances and set up some criteria, we can do that. We can do that immediately if you'd like.
Madam Mayor, I also worked on several different noise ordinances, and we revamped entirely what was done in Alachua County and Gainesville when I was there. And we did use decibel measures, but because the city in particular had its own force, all the police officers and the code enforcement officers had decibel meters to use to evaluate on a case-by-case basis. They aren't terribly expensive, but it's something that, because we have rotating staff with the sheriff, we would have to work out that we could make that available to them. But since the county's ordinance does mention all of that, we could certainly look it over and see if it's adequate given our circumstances, or if we want to just adopt our own ordinance.
Well, perhaps somebody should bring that to a workshop and discuss that.
Yeah, I was going to say for the January 29th workshop, can we get some type of just to talk about, look at other people's ordinances, I guess is what I'm saying, to kind of give us an idea what we're dealing with.
We can, but in order to conduct a comprehensive noise ordinance, we're going to have to do some research and read those ordinances and then obtain those ordinances from a lot of other entities. We may not be able to compile all that information and be able to do a full out, thorough analysis. If we end up, we can definitely get it before the board in February. That gives us time to obtain that information, because we'd have to publicly request the information, then we'd have to compare it to ours, then we'd have to look at the code, and so then there's some others, and then there's some constitutionalities on some of the things that some ordinances may be in place, may be obsolete, and then if you go to a situation where you have decibel readers, then we have to talk to law enforcement to see what's the requirement for them to be able to get the existing tools. But we can place it on an agenda for discussion.
Would you please?
Yeah.
We now have peer cities we can talk to.
We do.
I just think we need to kind of move forward with this. Even if it takes a little bit of time, I think we still need to move forward. I think like Mr. Gay said, that sometimes at night, coming from the brown boxer, it's extremely loud. It is at 10, 11 o'clock at night during the week, or, where does it stop? So I just think we need to kind of look at it. But then we run into one problem, though, that I see. What happens when we do an Old Salt, or we do the Seafood Fest, because they have outside bands until 12 o'clock a lot of times, or 11 or 12, and it's not always just on Friday and Saturday night. So
for that, it's usually in their special event permit. They're given special.
And we still got to
permission
get
do it.
permission for them to go later.
Right, it's usually in the application that gives them a permission to have the amplified sound to a certain time that's outside the code.
Okay.
That's true. It does offer an exemption as part of the review process for special events. That's how that's handled.
Okay.
There's also another code that we do use, 34-86 talks about noise as well. And that's normally what we use if it's outside of the given times. It's not supposed to be heard from 50 feet from the source of the noise. So that one doesn't need a decibel meter. We can use our laser that we use for traffic to do the distance. And if it's heard from 50 feet away, that can be used as well. So we have been able to use that since we don't have decibel meters. But again, we have to educate the deputies more on the codes. So.
All right. Thank you. Thank you. I think we can move forward with trying to get something done down the road. Yes.
Thank you very much for your input. I'm not sure we were finished with public comment. Anyone else wish to speak on that subject?
Well,
Benziano, and I'm a business owner of Mad Beach Dive Bar and several other businesses here on Madeira Beach.
And your home address, please.
12300 4th Street East, Treasure Island.
Thank you.
I'm in support of the juicery shop trying to get their 2 COP. As she stated, this was a dead city. I've been here doing business for about 3 years. and there was nothing but bums and vagabonds, and now we have a thriving city where the tourists are coming here, and they want to be here. They want to come and hang out here and spend their money and increase tax revenue. I am very concerned with the noise levels for the yacht club because they're half my customers. So I do implore any of them, at any point in time, you can call the bar, you can call me, send me emails, because I will act on it faster than the police can. I'm very conscious about our neighborhood. And as far as, safe serving, all bartenders, I think, it's my staff, and, I implore other bar owners as well to make that a mandate. That's a mandate for my staff, is safe serving. So they know when to cut people off, when people are intoxicated, so we don't overserve people. We make sure people get safe rides home as much as we can. People are so people, and they do what they do. But I'm in favor of allowing the juicery to get their 2 COP. Thank you.
If I'm not mistaken, there's a new law out that bartenders have got to be trained in. I can't remember what it's called.
I don't think it's necessarily a law, but some of the different insurance companies, such as my insurance company, they mandate that all my staff is safe serve qualified and certified every 2 years. So, a lot of liability is not only on us, but it's also on them as servers. So if they want to continue to have an employment and a lucrative job, then, they do need to continue, that continuing of education. But again, I do implore any of my yacht club estates people, and I do worry about them. And if it is something after hours, I'm up till 4 o'clock in the morning every night. So, send me an email, call the bar, let us know if there is something going on in that back parking lot. We do try to, I don't allow any alcohol back there. We don't allow any people hanging out outside there. So if there is something going on, I'm going to be able, my staff's going to be able to react on that a lot quicker than, getting one of the sheriffs from doing something like, I'm not going to say real police work, but something maybe more immediate than a couple having a lover's spat. Thank you.
Yes.
Loree Tyner, 4996 Miramar Drive, Madeira Beach. I think you ought to go ahead and give them their license for it. It's not hard liquor, beer, wine. I want to go over there and have some of their sangria made with the fruits that they have because they're really good. But I mean, it's not a regular bar. I mean, it's okay, and I don't see what the big deal is. I mean, we're all adults. We need to patrol ourselves too. Okay, that's all.
Does anyone else wish to speak? Public comment is now closed. Any more discussion?
Well, I think we just got a little bit sidetracked on it, probably, okay, or a lot sidetracked on it, because the criteria for the alcoholic beverage permit application is really all we're really looking for tonight, right? To satisfy that criteria. So
I would like to make a motion that we approve this minus the package sales and sealed contents in sealed containers.
I agree. Do we have a second?
I second it, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Right, well, we were sidetracked, really. I think that until we I think that until we go into a review and see how the Sheriff's Department can really help us, because we pay a lot of money to the Sheriff's Department, and I know that the Deputy Roxby and Snyder and all the other people work hard to keep our city right, but I think there's got to be a way that people don't have to call that non-emergency number, that they can, to get a sheriff there, we should have some kind of patrolling. For many years, I was just told by previous commissions, I was told to just leave town. That the problem is, I mean, I really was. I was told, I was told that, that this is a beach city, and if you don't like it, get out of town. And that is certainly not the answer. So I do agree with all the people that have spoken, but I do think that the juicery is, I've been there, and I think that they run a good operation. So I second that motion.
Okay. City Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Commissioner Douthert?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Weinstein?
Yes.
Commissioner Hodges?
Yes.
Mayor Black?
Yes. Next, we have the 4COP alcoholic beverage application 2019-01. City Clerk.
Madam Mayor, Commissioners, this is another application. This is actually for an expansion of use. The currently, they're both of the businesses that are included in this joint request have 2 COP licenses, and they have processed a unity of title for the properties to bring them together, and some have applied for some site plan work and building expansions that will tie the buildings together, and want to operate as a single joint service operation for both restaurant and bar, and include some activities on the outside of the building in a courtyard area. What we have had to consider here, since the site plan and the building are all things that have to be separately permitted and that would not be permitted if you approved this. What I did was review the request based on the zoning requirements and the alcohol requirements for separation and for traffic impact and things of that nature. I did, however, look at if they were to get the site plan approval for expansion and use of the outside areas, if there was adequate parking associated with the use, because we do have to consider that all of these changes together could have some kind of traffic impact. And so this is the point at which we would look at all of the issues, even though we're going to have to review them separately. But what I'm trying to explain is I've looked at those issues in terms of impact, but that does not imply an approval for site plan and building codes, because those, of course, have to be issued separately as permits. In this case, as I said, the intent is to add liquor onto the license to expand the use for alcoholic beverages on premise. Again, they have specified they do not intend to or have any desire to use package sales, and so if this were approved, I would recommend it be approved with the condition that it deals just with the service of alcohol. The reason we're going through this process and a full review again is that our code requires you to review any change or upgrade of license as if it were a new license. So we have to go all the way through the review process. And there are criteria, as we talked about before when we've come to you with alcoholic licenses for, as I said, separation and location and public safety, and then the traffic impact. There is adequate parking on site should they expand use to outside areas. There are other issues that we'd have to address in terms of access and things. Those, again, are permit issues, and they are not, but other than the outside use, which is supported by adequate parking, mainly what they're doing is expanding their menu to include a different type of alcohol. These businesses have been in place, and we even did some research to determine the Saltwater Hippie portion of the joint business has been a bar historically for at least 60 years that we were able to document that's a long-term use in that location. So the staff have recommended approval, and again, I add on that that be conditioned upon not including any package sales.
I have a question. I'm under the impression that it's two separate structures, though. Is that not correct?
It's two separate structures now, yes. And what we're doing is that what their intent is to connect them. And so what city is doing right now is reviewing whether the zoning is appropriate for these uses, this use in these buildings. They would take our zoning approval to the state in order to get their joint license. Also, they would have to connect the buildings. And so they still have to go through building review and a site plan review and include all of that, because until all of that is approved, they wouldn't be able to get their license from the state. So this is kind of a step in the process. I believe that what their intent is to find out whether the zoning is even approved before they start making dramatic changes to the building. It's a normal process to ask for zoning approval before you go through permitting processes on things.
Okay, well, I would have to think it was unfair then to ask the city to, or maybe I'm just not understanding properly. I would think that it's unfair to ask the city unless the zoning requirements have been already satisfied. I mean, I think that we're putting the cart before the...
No, but what I'm explaining is only the city can determine whether the zoning is appropriate. It's just like when we do a PD or you do a business zoning, somebody comes in and they ask to change the zoning on the land and make sure they can get the use before they invest in the building or even the permitting of the building, because all of that requires quite a bit of investment. So that's what they're asking is, this is a zoning overlay. That's how we define it in the code. So what they're asking is is it appropriate and can it be approved to have this zoning on this property before we go to the process of development and investment on the buildings?
Can you add anything to that, city attorney?
I'm sorry, tell me the question.
Well, I don't really understand it, okay? I'm just having difficulty understanding how you can issue a joint permit, joint application, if you've got two separate structures. You've got two different buildings, two different entities, three different entities. So I'm just confused. I don't want to.
So there's the pizza
direct it,
place, the pizza place basically, and there's also next door the Saltwater Hippie, and they're all one entity business. Is there a door in between, or?
There's the buildings are separated. They have gone through a unity of title to put them on the same parcel, and the intent is to...
Do they have a business tax receipt for one business or two separate businesses?
They've established a unified business entity operating both.
Okay.
And their intent is to add building structure that ties the two buildings together. So what
I can think of restaurants and resorts that have separate buildings and they have separate bars and restaurants, but they're all under one business tax receipt and they all have one liquor license.
Correct.
Instead of having a liquor license for the tiki bar and a liquor license for the restaurant and a liquor license for the pool bar, they're all one liquor license.
Correct.
Okay, and you'd have separate structures. And so I guess the other question is the intent to bring the two buildings together, which I know we're not discussing that, okay? Mm-hmm. But the question is, I guess, if we're bringing two structures and we're going to put them together, what's the problem with not doing it right now? I mean, is it owned by another, is that space owned by someone else, or is that negligible?
They're not required to bring the two structures together.
Okay.
There is no requirement for that. And so the expense to do so would be warranted by the additional business that would be enjoyed by having the additional license, is my understanding. It's not my business decision, but we can't require them to tie them together just because it's the same business. So.
That's what the city attorney said. Okay, I understand that now.
Go ahead. Well, as I understand it then, their intent is to join them together, but they don't have to. They're all under one license, and that's why we can approve two separate entities.
Correct.
The applicant's attorney, Kate Wells from Trentham Law, is here. You may want to call her up to have her explain their business plan and how they're doing this. She's been waiting patiently all night.
Read here.
is Kate Wells. I'm with Trenum Law. Good evening, Madam Chair and honorable members of the Board of Commissioners. It's my pleasure to be here on behalf of Madeira Beach Town Center. Madeira Beach Town Center filed an affidavit allowing my firm to represent it during this evening's hearing. My address is 200 Central Avenue, Suite 1600 in St. Petersburg. As your staff mentioned, the purpose of the application is to combine the existing alcoholic beverage license for Boda's Italian Kitchen and for the Old Ore House under one state permit, and to allow the sale of beer, wine, and liquor. If approved, the establishments will be known as Boda's Beach Kitchen and Saltwater Hippie Beach Bar at Boda's. I do want to confirm for the record that we are not seeking the approval for package sales. If this is approved this evening, it will be limited to on-premises consumption. And frankly, that is a condition of approval of the state liquor license if we're able to get that far. The state, it's a 4COP SFS license that we would be seeking, and that limits the sale of alcoholic beverages to on-premise consumption and does not allow for the sale of package sales. There is a floor plan or a site plan in your materials, and maybe I can walk you through that and answer some of the questions that you've had with regard to how this is going to work versus how it's currently constructed. I think at the back of your materials there's a floor plan. There's some handwritten notes on it that confirms. Yes, like yes. There's a portion of it is highlighted in yellow. And the handwritten notes are from the fire marshal confirming the total occupancy that would be approved for the combined premises. So what you will see, for those of you that are familiar with the area, Boda's is on the northwest corner of the triangle parcel. And it's an existing establishment. And you can see what is highlighted in yellow is the outdoor seating area. And then the highlighting goes around the building and then connects it to the Old Ore House. What my client is proposing to do here, if approved, we would connect a metal awning in the entire area that is shaded yellow, and that is how we would connect the two buildings. At the outset of this venture, we met with your staff as well as with Lieutenant David Merrill, with the Department of Business and Professional Regulation, Division of Alcoholic Beverages and Tobacco. We wanted to make sure that the state would agree that we could seek one combined license for the entire premises if we united the two buildings in this manner, and he agreed that we could do that. So that's why this is being proposed. The one thing I also want to mention is the outdoor garden area that we're proposing to add that does not currently exist. That would be located between the two buildings, and that is that area that shows 36 seats. So the garden area will not be under the metal awning. Instead, we will provide shade through canopies. So that's how we're proposing to connect the two buildings. That is a requirement under state law for this type of license, that when you're seeking a license for a restaurant, the entire premises must be connected. You must have control over the entire area where alcoholic beverages will be served. So that is what we're proposing to do. If I could take a moment to walk through my presentation to address the 5 criteria in your code. The property upon which Boda's is located was formerly occupied by a Subway sandwich restaurant for 25 years. Boda's is an independent pizza and sandwich restaurant and one of 5 other restaurants or businesses located on the block that sell alcoholic beverages. The second establishment has been operated as a bar selling alcoholic beverages for decades. Staff just confirmed for 60 years, most recently under the name of the Old Ore House for the past 12 years. The blocks immediately adjacent to this location, both to the north and to the south, have other retail or restaurant businesses that sell alcoholic beverages. If we receive your approval this evening, the application we file with the state will be for approval of a special liquor license associated with the restaurant, which will require the sale of non-alcoholic beverages and food items to be a minimum of 51% of overall sales. That is a condition that does not currently attach to the licenses that are issued and in existence today. The city's land development code is more restrictive and requires the sale of food and non-alcoholic items to be no less than 60% of combined gross sales. Furthermore, a condition of state approval requires the kitchen to be open and available to serve patrons at all hours of operation. Given the nature of the existing uses and the minor expansion for the outdoor garden area, it is not anticipated that significant traffic will be generated. Your staff determined that the additional outdoor garden seating could generate up to 8 trips during evening peak hour, all of which can be accommodated by existing on-site parking. Since opening, the type of traffic generated by Ferbota's has been the same as was generated by the previous Subway sandwich shop. For persons that travel by vehicle, Ferbota's portion of the site provides 11 parking spaces. There are an additional 29 spaces under lease to my client and available within the parking lot located immediately behind the site that's accessible by Gulf Boulevard. In addition, there are 20 parking spaces on the south side of Madeira Way, 18 parking spaces on the north side of Madeira Way, 23 metered spaces in the CVS parking lot directly across Madeira Way, and approximately 130 spaces within Archibald Park public parking lot. So based upon our complete application, the staff report, and tonight's presentation, I respectfully submit that this application meets all 5 factors in Section 110-532. Operating the combined premises under one special restaurant license will not change the character of the existing neighborhood, which is retail and restaurant. Given the nature of the existing uses and the minor expansion for the outdoor garden area, it is not anticipated that significant traffic will be generated. Operating the combined premises under a special restaurant license, which necessarily restricts the sale of alcoholic beverages to on-premise consumption and requires the sale of food and non-alcoholic beverages to be no less than 60% of combined gross sales, offers a use that is compatible with the location, will not change the nature of other existing uses, and will not adversely affect the public safety. Finally, the $500 application fee was paid at the time the application was filed, and staff confirmed that there are no outstanding charges owed to the city. So I respectfully request your approval, and I'm available to answer any questions that I may not have addressed adequately during my presentation. Thank you.
I've got a question. You said that area in the back is not being used, right? Where the 36 seats are?
Currently, it's not. They just built it out to show.
It was being used Sunday, people sitting back there drinking. I was back there. So, you know, you're saying one thing, but I got pictures of people sitting back there drinking in that area.
Well, certainly, that was not the intent, and we're here seeking your prior approval before we file the application with the state. But that outdoor area we would propose it to be a garden area and included within the scope of tonight's approval.
I understand, but I'm just saying, you know, there was people there already drinking this weekend.
I have no questions.
Thank you.
Thank you. Floor is now open for public comment on this item. Floor is closed. Any more discussion from the board?
Well, I guess I have to admit, I just still don't totally understand it. I guess what I have to ask our director is, do they meet the criteria they meet the 5 conditions?
Yes, and Ms. Wells actually went over the 5 conditions dealing with the amount of parking that's provided and the additional area which would produce an additional number of trips, but that those trips are on a roadway that can handle that small amount of difference, and that their location is separated enough from things such as places of worship, private schools. I've done all the measurements to ensure that that's the case.
Right.
That they've met those criteria. And of course, there are no outstanding fines or fees for the property. So yes, they did meet all the criteria.
And City Attorney, do you think that we need to discuss this anymore? We've been on this for quite a while, and I'm concerned because if I don't understand it completely, I hate to vote on anything, okay? But I know I have that responsibility.
You have a certain amount of discretion to discuss and determine on your own, with your own mind. Do you think that it meets the 5 criteria? The 5 criteria are: 1, the extent to which the location and the extent to which the proposed alcoholic beverage request will adversely impact the character of the existing neighborhood. 2, the extent to which traffic generated as a result of the location of the proposed alcoholic beverage request will create congestion or present a safety hazard. 3, whether or not the proposed use is compatible with the particular location for which it is proposed. 4, whether or not the proposed use will adversely affect the public safety. 5, no application for review under this section shall be considered until the applicant has paid in full any outstanding charges, fees, interest, fines, or penalties owed by the applicant to the city under any section of the code. I don't think there are any current code enforcement violations, although I don't know whether they were in violation or not. But those other criteria, 1, 2, 3, and 4, that's open for discussion, and your motion should be based on those. If you're going to approve or deny, you should go through each of those criteria in your motion and say you believe it meets it or doesn't meet it, and why. Especially if you're going to deny.
I got 2 things I want to just ask or point out. On number 2, at the bottom, it says, since the expansion of activities and areas can be accomplished by existing parking on site, and because the surrounding roads have been permitted for higher traffic generation. Could you please explain that?
Yes. Given that the fact that there are traffic studies that for the upcoming town center development, which would be at a far higher level of impact, and that the area has been shown to have the capacity for more development on site, even if it didn't go to the full extent of the town center. It's still some amount of development there will be higher than what's proposed or available on site right now. That those traffic studies indicate that the minimal additional 8 trips that would be generated by the outdoor seating can be accommodated.
So 8 trips is 4 people, coming once, leaving once. So that's 4 times.
4 cars.
4 cars, and that's all this is going to generate is 4 more cars.
Because of the outdoor seating, we have to count it based on what the code says for the number of seats, which is 1 car per tabletop.
I would make a motion that we approve it pending the city's planning approval. And the package sales and sealed containers is removed.
But they're not asking for package sales.
It's in the thing. If you read this part
Right,
they're
I'm
not
reading it.
asking for it, we need to remove it, I think.
Oh, okay.
Yes, and what we're explaining was this, they have like a subcategory of the 4 COP that they're going to be applying for. So at very least, we need to specify that in here that it was not ever intended and would not permit the package.
That was my motion.
And then I'll second it.
Will City Clerk please call the roll?
Commissioner Downter,
Yes.
Commissioner Hodges,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Weinstein, Mayor Black.
Yes. Next, we have the Madeira Way Market Report. Director Hatch.
Good evening, Madam Mayor and Commissioners. I just wanted to provide you all with an update on the Madeira Way Market. Clara is distributing an updated revenue and expense sheet. We received a payment today that made everything level out, so I'll explain that to you when we get to it, but I'll try to be quick here. With the help of the assistance of many of the merchants on Madeira Way, as well as the developer of the town center, and some of my staff, we have successfully completed 3 markets thus far. And basically the intent of this conversation is ideally at the direction of the city manager, we would continue that for the next 3 months and wrap it up. We have some things that we would like to do moving forward. I've had conversations with the Madeira Beach Treasure Island Chamber of Commerce. They currently host one on Fridays, and they are going through the process of discussion internally to potentially help us out and take over on Sundays, moving forward into next year, if this is something that we decide we're going to move forward with. But as far as it's gone, it has been a successful event. We did receive financial contribution from the developers because they did want to see business and activities along the street during this tough time of construction. And under the assumption that will continue, we have their commitment as well. So I can show you down on the revenue and expense sheet there that I just distributed. The 3 events in total, staff time, advertising, signs, all that stuff that we've put together has come out to $2,400. A combination of vendor fees and the contribution from the town center development. We have come up with, it's even. So we spent $2,424 and came back with $2,424. So at this point, it is a wash as far as the expense to the city. And we do have their commitment. We have the commitment of the vendors that have participated, the merchants along Madeira Way, as well as the developer, and then the chamber is looking forward to helping us advertise it more and look for a successful handoff in the future. So ideally, again, at the direction of the city manager and y'all's approval, we would like to continue this and continue to run a successful market on Madeira Way.
Madam Mayor, if I may add to the department director's comments, since the inception of the market, we've been able to collect approximately a little over $1,100 in fees that are collected for those that participate in the market. In addition to, we have received a financial contribution from the developer to assist in the market. When staff went through the process to assist the market, one of the biggest cost centers for the process was the road closure fee. And I've asked the recreation director to do a little bit of research to find out what the city's hard costs are associated with that, and we charge $1,000. But realistically, the hard cost for the city is about $400. So if we look to recoup just the monies that we have expended associated with that, we're well within the money that has been allotted from the developer, as well as the revenue that we've collected associated with the market. One of the things that we would like the board to consider is assisting the market all the way till April. In my discussions with each of you individually, one of the things that we talked about is the possibility of transitioning the market after March, but having some additional conversations with the department director. If we can look to help them till April, that gets them all the way through season. They have started gaining a lot more momentum, and then when we look to transition the market off, there will probably be a time where there will be a little bit of break, and then the market will restart again, and at that point they have an opportunity to determine whether they're going to establish a 501c6 themselves or partner up with the chambers of commerce to have the market come back. But we thought that since we've received financial contribution, that we're well within the budget, and we've been tracking expenses, and so we wanted to see if the board would be so inclined to support the market until April. That gets them completely through the season, and they are starting to get a lot of momentum, and we really want to allow for them to focus on building their clientele, building the brand of the market, and getting them to be able to recoup some of the revenue that they lost during this red tide period. So if the board would be willing to consider that, staff believes we still will be well within the $5,000 that was contributed, and we would like to assist them until the peak season for us is over, and staff stands prepared to answer any questions the Board of Commissioners may have.
Is this something we need to vote on, or a consensus?
I think it would be good for the board to take official action just by voting to support staff's recommendation, if that's the pleasure of the board.
Okay. Well, then I'll open it up for public comment at this time.
Is it on? Okay. Nicolette Schouten, 10536 65th Avenue, Seminole, Florida. I just wanted to report that there is no tentative dates for vendors, and I've already got 5 asking when the next ones are. So we should have an increase in vendors, which is good. And, you know, the merchants all love it. I like it. And I'm willing to keep going. So thank you very much for your support.
Certainly. Does anyone else wish to speak? Floor is now closed on this item. Any more discussion on the board?
Yes, I think it's a great idea. I think that it's wonderful that the city has been able to assist with the Madeira wine market. But I certainly feel that, and as long as that $5,000 contribution lasts, you know, from the developer, that's fine. But I definitely do not think that the city should commit any more city funds until we determine what the intent of is for the developer, should it go over that, and it might not, based on the hard costs of what you say. So can we get a commitment on that either he's gonna, I mean, what if it does, you know?
The Recreation Director did receive a check from the developer, I believe, today concerning the cost that the city has incurred thus far. So we're continuously monitoring it, but if you back out the amount, the hard costs that the city has associated with the road closure, that does free up some additional capital that I believe, based on where we are as an organization, we should be able to get them through that April market, because we are also collecting revenue for those entities that wish to participate in the market. And one of the things that is unique to the market, and Director Hatch, correct me if I'm wrong, those that are Madeira Beach-based businesses do not pay to participate in the market. So that is a huge benefit for the local businesses to be able to move their product out, to not have to pay $100 or $150. Those other entities are helping to offset the cost. So as the market grows and as the brand grows, inevitably the revenue, I think, will go up as well. And like it was just stated by one of the previous speakers, there is a lot of energy and synergy about people looking to come participate to the market. And I think as the weather gets better, they're going to be turning away a number of vendors, because we have a exceptional location to host such an event. And to the mayor's point earlier, we want to make some improvements on that roadway to make it a little bit more aesthetically pleasing for those that come to our community as well. So we really do believe that $5,000 will get us to where we need to be to carry it all the way till April.
Do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion if we approve it.
Would the motion be that we continue to support it until April?
Yes, until April.
Second.
Will the city clerk please call the roll?
Commissioner Douther?
Yes.
Commissioner Hodges?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Weinstein?
Yes.
Mayor Black?
Yes. Next, we have reports and correspondence. Any reports from the commission?
Yes, I
It's
just
cold
wanted to
in
make one
here,
comment.
yeah.
I'm right, it is. Are you going to mention this, Jonathan, about the?
Yes, I am,
Okay,
actually.
then I would just like to say something first, because I haven't had a listening tour for 2 months now, and normally that's a great opportunity for citizens to get together, and I will be beginning it again. I'm just trying to find some venues. So just stay tuned, and we'll have another listening tour with the Vice Mayor. Mhm.
So this Saturday at approximately 5 p.m. here at City Hall, we have our art exhibit and public reception, and we would certainly like for members of the public to be in attendance. It is from 5 to 8 in the evening, and we have a local artist that has done some exceptional work and has some pieces that will be available for sale back into the offices. It is an opportunity for a meet and greet with department directors and staff, but one of the things that's important to us as an organization is to really pull the veil back of government and to allow for the public to know that this is your building, this is your city, and we want you to be involved in the things that are happening here and sharing how proud we are of the spaces that we have an opportunity to work in. There's nothing more special than being able to come into your office and watch dolphins out there playing in the water. So we want to allow for you to meet some of our department directors, to take a look at some of the art pieces that are in here from a local artist. There will be hors d'oeuvres, some entertainment, but just an opportunity for you to come to City Hall, meet some of the key players. Your elected officials will be here, and just a way to encourage people to come to City Hall and be part of the City of Madeira Beach employee family. So we look forward to a big turnout, and the attire is business casual, and look forward to seeing you all on Saturday.
Anybody else on the commission have anything to report? City Attorney?
Not at this time, thank you.
And
Not at this time, thank you.
City Manager, anything else?
I hope my voice gets better, because I sound like I'm 14 years old. So, yeah. But no, certainly thank you to the board for your commitment this evening to assist in securing the Veterans Day Boat Parade in our community for another 5 years. That is a big thing for us, and I think that sets us apart. And looking forward to what 2019 has in store for us. I think there's a lot of positive things that we'll see. Obviously, we know that there's a lot of construction activity that will occur, the resurfacing of Gulf Boulevard, the undergrounding of the utilities, the stormwater projects on 137th for some grant money that we received from SwiftMed, the improvements that will occur at the splash pad. So there's a lot of things that you will start seeing in our community. So we definitely are apologetic of the dust and the interruptions that we may cause, but nonetheless, when you partner up with the state of Florida and it is their roadway, they basically tell you when it's convenient to them. But the projects should move pretty quickly, especially the resurfacing of the roadway. They're going to be pretty aggressive in their deployment of resources. So if there's any questions, comments, concerns you have, please contact our office and we'll keep you attuned to what's going on. And wishing everyone a happy and safe and prosperous 2019.
City Clerk.
I do. Now that the charter amendment ordinance has been adopted, I'll be scheduling a couple of the forums for people to come and ask questions and all. Probably one this month and one in February, and then of course we have the election in March.
Okay, thank you. And with that, the meeting is adjourned at 9:03.